Hello everyone, hope you are all doing well. Today I'm going to react to a pregnant vegan's take on antinatalism.
With spay and neuter, like if you are opposed to breeding dogs and cats because there's too many dogs and cats in the world, there are too many humans in the world, so logically you can apply the similar concept to human beings. And it's a concept I'm really familiar with because it is something that I've felt since high school. I actually remember the time I was in biology class and my biology teacher showed a film about human beings and the population on Earth and how we're like just exploding and destroying the planet, and just like human beings are unchecked and out of control. Like the human population is growing so fast, it is not sustainable. And so back in my high school days, when I saw that, I thought, oh my gosh, I do not want to bring a kid into the world. I don't want to have my own children. I'll adopt if I'm ever gonna have a baby. And I don't want to contribute to more consumption and human beings on the planet.
This isn't really a very good reason for anti-natalism, because of all the counter-arguments that can be made against it, not to mention it goes somewhat against the idea of human adaptation and progress. If we do get to the point where we are overpopulated, there is a high likelihood that we would just be able to move to another planet or live on two planets at the same time. Not saying this isn't a reason why someone might be an anti-natalist, but it is a hyper-oversimplification of the problem. For example, people like myself and David Benatar think that the optimal number of humans on the Earth is 0, because existence is not preferable to non-existence.
And I think that was a beautiful perspective. But I also think, and have learned over the years, that being a martyr is not necessarily the best way to make massive change in the world, and that you really never know if the sacrifices you're making are making a bigger impact or a smaller impact, better or a worse impact than other paths you could have taken. For example, you could decide never to have a kid yourself and then go about your life being vegan, and that's that. You never contributed a kid. Or you could decide to have a kid, donate X amount of money, $500, $1,000, $2,000, whatever amount of money it takes, Planned Parenthood, to prevent an unwanted teen pregnancy by providing birth control resources or something like that. And then have a kid yourself who's wanted, loved, raised compassionately, carries on the compassionate genes that you hold within yourself, and have still prevented a birth. Either way, you're reducing one human being from the population, but one took a small action of a gift of money and a great organization, and the other took giving up something that is going to impact your entire life. So, or like giving up something that you may want in your life. So there's...
Her idea of harm reduction makes sense to an extent, however, all in all, it comes off as very selfish. The main point of anti-natalism is that bringing a child into this world is an immoral act, and you would say that you are committing this moral act simply because it gives you and your life great positive effect, whereas you have not taken into account the negative effect of bringing a child into this world, and the pain and suffering that child would experience. It would be the same as beating someone up in order to soothe your violent urges and then giving money to a charity.
Just like there's multiple paths to get to the same end impact. And so what seems logically like, if I want to help control the human population, the best thing I can do is not contribute to it. But that's not actually true, right? Like, you could not be vegan, but you could turn 1,000 people vegan, and that is gonna make a bigger impact than being vegan yourself. And the same thing when you're thinking about being a parent. When you step into parenthood, there are so many elements of that you will be influencing those around you who are also parents. So if all the parents are using disposable diapers and you step into this and are using cloth diapers, and they're like, huh, really? I'm gonna try that for my next kid. That's really working out great. Oh, cool. And then you spread this different, more conscious style of parenting among so many future generations and parents.
The example of veganism just doesn't make any sense unless you have some kind of autoimmune issue or something like that, but even so, it seems fairly odd to make that a point. Also, it doesn't seem like she's advocating for anti-natalism at all here. If anything, some very obvious aspects in this video indicate that she is very much a natalist.
So there's those things, like there's the impact that you make through your choices and through the path of life that you take can be really, really great. And then I also have had a little bit of a unique perspective in life with being adopted, because all growing up I thought that it was nurture over nature. I thought I was who I was because of my parents, because of how I was raised. And since finding my biological mother a decade ago, my biological father 2 years ago, my perspective on that really changed. I saw so much of myself, and not just like what I look like or how I act or whatever, but the deep sense of compassion, like respect for the earth, love for animals, ways of just like compassion. It made me believe that compassion is genetic, that there's an element
unrelated to the anti-natalism, but still true. The work of Robert Plowman indicates that your general traits are around 5% due to parenting. I have no idea what this has to do with anti-natalism though. In fact, I don't know what any of this has to do with anti-natalism, if I'm being honest with you.
Of compassion that can be in genes. And so if every vegan person decides not to have kids, we're self-selecting out of the population the most compassionate genes that exist. We're taking the most like kind, conscious, willing to sacrifice for the greater humanity people and the genes that create those people, and we're making them not continue on. And this,
to be fair, is actually a very good argument, one of the best I've heard, stating that antinatalists and vegans are inherently more compassionate than most, along with the idea that compassion is genetic means that, in theory, without antinatalists or vegans, the world would be a much worse place. The only real response I could think of to this claim is, treating children as just being a means to an end to clean up the messes which we have left for them seems like a fairly immoral thing to do. Also, assuming that everyone else became anti-natalist, then that would fix the problem much better than advocating for reproduction.
Like, you're not going to be a happy, inspiring person who is leading a positive example that other people want to follow. There's a point where sacrifice becomes just depressing to even look at. And so I think tapping in and seeing if you really, really want kids, think about adopting. Or if you really want to have your own kids, like, don't not do it because you think you're creating a better world. Like that, there are so many ways that you can make an impact on the world with your entire life ahead of you, with your little one there with you, and you don't need to make that sacrifice. That's how I feel now.
This is more of a critique of anti-natalist advocacy rather than a critique of the actual idea of antinatalism, so there isn't too much here for me to respond to. However, the idea that all antinatalists are sad because they don't have children obviously isn't true. Many antinatalists simply don't want to have kids. Like myself, I have no strong desire to have children. That's the video, hope you enjoyed.